Hello and welcome everyone to the third webinar in the month of March. And today we are going to talk about how to apply for admission to for PhD in Australia. So it is going to be an exciting webinar tonight, as I'm going to walk you through the entire process of starting and preparing your application. I will also do a live demo of how you can submit an application online to one of the universities in Australia. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me as we continue with this webinar. So before I actually go into how you should apply for PhD, I think it is important to know for yourself as a PhD aspirant is why do you want to do a PhD? So if you look at this, you have to have a clear idea of some of the reasons why you want to do a PhD. So it could be because you are passionate about research, yeah, or you want to make a career in academia. You like university, you like the work environment, work ethic in universities, and you want to build your career there. So that could be one of the reasons why you do a PhD. You want to contribute to the field of knowledge. I mean, you probably have completed either your bachelor's with honors or your master's degree, and you are an expert in your field, and you want to take it to that next level where you can build or create new knowledge through your PhD. So that could be another reason. It could be also for personal fulfillment. You are really passionate about research and you want to have a PhD, and that is the reason. That is a very valid reason to pursue a PhD. If you are considering doing a PhD as a way of building your skills, that is also a good reason, because I consider PhD as a way to kind of uh, it is a training exercise. So you receive training on how to identify a problem and how to solve a problem. That is as simple as a PhD can be. And how you identify the problem, what methodology you select for solving the problem, that is the whole exercise of pursuing a PhD. So skill development is a valid reason. It could also be for professional advancement. I see a lot of PhD candidates who have a lot of work experience, and then they take a break for a few years and want to pursue their PhD. It could also be that it is one of the requirements at your university that you need to have a PhD if you want to get promoted to a senior level. So that is a very good reason. Or it could also be for networking opportunities and global opportunities, because as a researcher, you are going to be well known in the field globally, and that is going to create and open a lot of networks for you. That will so that is a good reason as well. It could also open up teaching opportunities. Like I said, some universities may have the criteria that you should have a PhD in order to uh, continue your academic career. And finally, long-term impact. I mean, you want to leave a mark about your creation on this world. You want to impact the society. So those could be some of the reasons. So try to understand what is your true motive for pursuing your PhD, because this is very important and it is something that you need to think carefully, because it is a long journey. So 3 to 4 years of your life, you could consider, if you live 100 years, it is 3 or 4% of your lifetime. So you're spending a fair bit amount of time doing a PhD, right? So be very clear of why you want to do PhD. Okay. So the second thing that I want to talk about is what could be some of the reasons why you should not do a PhD. Okay, so in the previous slide I talked about why you want to do, but here, why not? Okay, so if you're thinking that you want a PhD just because of prestige or status, then I think that is not the really a good reason for entering or engaging in a PhD program. If you have parental or peer pressure that you need to get PhD, that is again not something that I would recommend. You need to have that real passion within you to pursue your PhD. So that is very, you have to be very careful on this. There could be misconceptions about career prospects, or you want to avoid the job market. Maybe the job market is not good, and you think that, oh, maybe I'm not getting a job, might as well do a PhD. And I have seen many candidates who have come to me with that idea. And then it was also a learning experience for me, because initially I thought, okay, that's a good reason that they want to pursue and they want to build up their skills. But what happened is the moment they got a job, they left their PhD. So it was a waste of my time, and it was also a waste of a lot of resources at the university. So do keep that in mind. There is also a belief that PhD is the next logical step in your academic journey, but that you don't really need a PhD if you just think that is the reason why you are doing a PhD. There are many successful people in the world who do not have a PhD. So it is equally okay to just have a bachelor's degree or a master's degree. A next reason could be underestimating the commitment that is required for PhD. Yeah. So if you have not given a good thought about how much effort is going to be required, talk to some students or talk to some of the past PhD candidates. Get their experience, listen from them, understand the journey that they have gone through. And even there are so many vlogs on YouTube where people talk about their experience of the PhD. So listen to them, digest that, and then decide whether it is really right for you or not. It is also about overestimating personal interest. Maybe a lot of times I have seen is students are quite interested in pursuing a PhD. They are very hyped up, excited, and they really want to, I want to get into it and I want to do PhD. And then they start with that, and then that passions kind of then subsides after a few months or a year, and then they're realizing or questioning their decision on whether to continue with the PhD or not. Another reason is thinking that a PhD will give you a tenure track position at a university. These things are very competitive. So please keep in mind that if this is what you are thinking, and if that is the reason you are considering PhD, you may be in for a surprise. So I don't want to demotivate you, but I want to give the facts up and clear. The next is desire for intellectual environment. I mean, you can get that elsewhere as well. There are very smart people around in different companies who are working. You don't really need to be in academia just for that experience. And finally, blindly following a mentor or a peer, because somebody is one of your friend or one of your colleagues is doing PhD, you are doing PhD. So that is, it doesn't really make sense. Everyone's situation is different. And it may be a right decision for them, but it may not be the right decision for you. So please be very, very clear on why you want to enter into this PhD program. Okay, so I thought it would be a good idea to kind of lay these facts out there before, so that then if you have made up your mind that you want to continue with your PhD, then the rest of the video is very relevant to you all. So now that you have a clear understanding that you have decided to study to enter into your PhD program, let's see how we can do it, how you can do PhD in Australia. Okay, so do keep in mind the first two slides that I mentioned. Why do a PhD and why not to do a PhD? Maybe take a screenshot of this, read this over a few times over the next few days or months, so that you kind of get yourself a good understanding that, okay, this is what I want and this is what I do not want. Okay, so thank you all for joining. For those who have already been listening to me, I would kindly request you to share this video on your social networks. Tell other people, other friends, and your colleagues about this webinar series. It has taken a lot of effort and commitment on my end to do a webinar every day. So I request your support, that you help me promote this video webinar series. If you have any questions during this webinar, please do ask me. I would like to answer your questions as they come through this program. All right. So starting with your PhD, I have identified 10 steps that you need to that I will walk you through today, on starting from step 1, deciding your research area, all the way till beginning your PhD journey. So that 10 steps we will walk through today, and I will try to give you as much information as I can. I will also share some of my personal experience supervising over 25 PhDs students in Australia, their challenges and their process, and so on. So the first point is to decide your research area. So when you start thinking that you want to pursue your PhD, first and foremost is to identify your research interest. So think about what research area you want to spend time pursuing your PhD. So understand that research area. Think about why is it that you like this research area? What motivates you to do research in this space? Because remember that this is the foundation for your research, for your PhD journey. So it has to be very, very strong. So spend fair bit of time thinking about the research that you want to do, and the research, the specific research that you want to pursue. Once you have done that, explore research opportunities in different universities in Australia. Different universities have different specializations. So going through the universities' websites and looking at their research facilities or infrastructure is going to be very useful for you all, because if you have a specific research and it needs specific instrument or specific infrastructure or a lab, then it has to be present in the university where you are planning to apply. So probably the first two important things that you need to do. One is identify what area you want to study, and the second is which university is probably the best one for you to do that research. The second step is to find a supervisor who can help you and guide you in the PhD program. Typically, in Australian universities, you get two supervisors. One is the primary supervisor, and the second is the co-supervisor. Sometimes it is also possible that you get an associate supervisor. An associate supervisor could be anybody, maybe outside of the university as well, from some another university, or even someone who is an expert from the industry, who may be useful or provide some constructive inputs in your research. So having a supervisor, co-supervisor, and a associate supervisor. So three people can be in your PhD panel. So how to search for potential supervisor? So all universities in Australia have something called as the register of supervisors, or a supervisor registry, wherein you can search using either your research topic, or if you already know the name of the person, then you can directly search their name. But on most occasions, you may not know who is the supervisor that you want to work with, unless they are very well known and you already follow them. If not, then use the supervisor register to find a suitable supervisor. Keep in mind that their expertise should also align with your research proposal or your research goal. So whatever research you want to do, they should be able to guide you in that process. And sometimes it is a good idea to work with the supervisor in formulating your research proposal. So I spoke about a research proposal in the last video yesterday. So do check that video as well if you want to refresh on how to make a research proposal. And thirdly, you need to make sure that they are available. As you can imagine, academics are quite busy with their normal day-to-day duties like teaching, giving lectures, running tutorials, managing the department, and so on. So they may or may not be in a position to take a new PhD student because they may already have some students that they are currently supervising. So keep that in the back of your mind as well. Next is to contact potential supervisors. So email them, introduce yourself, your research interests, and inquire whether they are available for supervising your research. And attach it, your academic CV with a brief proposal if possible. So if you have a proposal, I would suggest that you include it because that will show the supervisor that you have already started thinking about your research and working towards it. So here you can see I did a session yesterday, which was how to draft a research proposal. So do look at that video so that if you want to work on your research proposal, and if you want to approach a research supervisor, so I'm going to do a special webinar on that, which is on the 6th of March. So do join in for that session. All right. Next, we want to see the university requirements. So what is it that universities need in terms of the admission process? So each university in Australia has its own set of admission requirements, and this includes your existing qualifications, your bachelor's degree, your master's degree, and whether those are equivalent to Australian bachelor's or master's degree, all those things. You also need to prove your English language capability if you're not from an English speaking country. So you have to apply, you have to appear for IELTS, TOEFL, or any other English language exams or tests that are universally accepted. So that is the university requirement. For a specific PhD program, maybe if you want to do a PhD in medicine, or if you want to do it in computer science or engineering, they may have some specific requirements. So you need to keep an eye on those as well, because they may be different and could be some additional requirements other than what the university has provided. So it could mean that you need to, for example, you need to have some prior research experience. So some programs may need that kind of criteria, or they may say that you have to have publications, research publications in good journals or conferences, or you should have a detailed research proposal ready before you submit your application for admission. So these are some program specific requirements that may exist when you are when you start looking for admission. Next step is preparing your application. So let's look into that. So there are a few things here. Firstly is you have to highlight you have to prepare your academic CV. Yeah, so preparing a CV is very important because it conveys all your achievements, your education, your research experience, or if you have won any awards, and so on and so forth. Some universities have a standard template that they will ask you to fill in all this information. So if you have already prepared your CV, you may need to move some information from your CV to this template. And this template is actually, in fact, very useful because sometimes you may not think that you may need this information in your CV. But when you look at the template and you see and you realize that, oh, I think this information is important and I have not added that, in my CV. So it is a good time for you to kind of collect this information and start adding it. I'm going to do a webinar on that topic as well, on how to prepare your CV. So do follow that upcoming session as well. Next thing, when you are preparing your application is you would need a research proposal. So developing a compelling research proposal is very important because universities receive a lot of PhD applications. And as an academic or as a professor, you also receive a lot of emails from potential candidates. And then you have to, you cannot take everyone because you have you have your limitations on how many students you can supervise at one point of time. So writing a compelling research proposal is very important to not only grab the academics attention or attention, but also so that your research stands out and there is something that the professors can support you, in a sense that if there are 10 applications, your application should be the first on their list, so that you could be selected as a candidate under their supervision, under their guidance. Next two things that you need is an academic transcript. So collect all your academic transcripts, and if they are not in English, you would need to have them certified and translated and then certified, because that is what you would be required when submitting it for admission. Next is letter of recommendation. So I would suggest that start talking to your current professors when you are either in your final semester of your master's or your honors degree, and tell them that you are exploring the possibility of pursuing your PhD, and you would be looking for a recommendation letter from them. So if people who know you they have taught you, so they will be the most suitable referee to give a strong recommendation for your PhD. So there's another video, that is a webinar that is coming up on that topic as well. So keep an eye on it. And finally, English language proficiency. So how to prepare? You have to prepare your English language proficiency test results if you are a non-native English speaker. IELTS, TOEFL, or PTE are accepted in most Australian universities as a proof of your English language capability. So these are the things. These are the 5 things. So I'll just recap. So your academic CV, you need your research proposal, then you need academic transcripts, letter of recommendations, and yeah, one more thing in letter of recommendation is it would be good if you receive, or if you have 2 or 3 recommendation letters from your professors who have taught you different types of subjects or units, so they can give a different perspective about your research. Okay, the next step is to submit your application. And in most Australian universities, you will see that there is an online application, submission system, where you have to go and submit all these documents that I have mentioned just now, and fill in the application form, answer all the questions that they have in that, and submit it online. Sometimes there may be some application fee as well. So do keep that in mind when you are submitting your application. Next step is applying for scholarships. Okay, so in terms of scholarships, there are different types of scholarships. So depending upon whether you are a international student applying for the scholarship, or if you are a domestic Australian student looking for a scholarship. So scholarships are often offered by universities, industry, CRC, or this is cooperative research centers, and CSIRO. So this is like a government research organization. So these could be four uh, potential areas from where you can get scholarship. So many a times, what happens is when you submit your application for admission, there is an option where the application asks you if you would like to also apply for scholarship at the same time. So if you find that option in the admission application when you are submitting, then just choose that, and then it will consider your application for scholarships as well. Alternatively, you may have to apply for scholarship separately. The separate scholarship application actually will be relevant if you are applying for scholarships not from the university, because you are applying for admission at the university, and if the university also has scholarships, you can tick that box. But if the scholarship is from some other organization, then they don't know that you are applying for PhD. So what you need to do is if you have received a PhD admission, then you can go to these other scholarship providing bodies and apply for scholarship from there. So those could be the two different ways in which you can apply for scholarships. Next is awaiting your decision. So I guess everyone would be eagerly waiting that you have submitted your admission application for admission, and then you're eagerly waiting on a decision on getting an admission as well as getting your scholarship. So it is a very exciting and a happy moment, but also very stressful, because sometimes universities can take long time to assess your application and then make a decision and kind of get back to you. But you have to understand that it is a long process. So once you submit your application, there is that kind of starts a chain reaction. Your application is first assessed at the research office to see, or the admissions office, to see whether your bachelor's degree or master's degree or all your transcripts, if they are all correct or not. If something is not correct, then they would reach out to you asking for more clarification. So that's why I said prepare all the documents properly in advance, have all the translations done, have them certified, so that your application can progress faster and quicker. Once that happens, the next step could be that the application is then sent to the department or the school where you have identified a potential supervisor. So then that goes to the school. The school has to send it to the supervisor. Supervisor say, yes, I have agreed to supervise him or her. And then the school will then receive confirmation from the supervisor. They would notify to the admissions office. So, it is a long process. And these kind of meetings, they do not happen every day. So maybe there is a admission meeting once a month. So all the applications that are received by a particular date will go for assessment in the upcoming meeting. So if you miss that deadline by a day or two, then you would have to wait for a month or more, because your application will go into the next round of assessment. So be patient is what I would like to say, that and hope that your application gets processed fast and you get your scholarship approved as well. And the offer letter would be generated and will be issued to you. So if you are successful in getting an admission and a scholarship, all that information would be mentioned in the offer letter, or it is also called as the confirmation of enrollment, the COE. So you can read that thing very carefully to understand what has been offered to you, what degree, which school, if the supervisor that is mentioned is the correct one or not, how much scholarship you are going to get, when do you have to start, or whether there are any conditions along with your admission, and so on. So go through that offer letter very thoroughly. Once you have received the offer letter, the next step is to apply for visa if you are an international applicant. And visa process, I think, keeps changing every often. So do check the Australian immigration website to see what is the visa subclass that is suitable. I think it is the subclass 500 for student visa. And along with the student visa, you also have to apply for overseas student health cover. So this is like a health insurance while you are studying in Australia as an international student. And there are many other visa requirements. I'm not going to go into much detail in today's session, but there is a dedicated session planned for this topic as well. So you can get all the informations there during that session. Next is to prepare your move, assuming that you get your visa on time and you are all excited to come to Australia. I think what you need to do is to start finding housing. That is probably the first and the most important step that everyone starts once they are deciding that, okay, I'm going to land in Australia on this and this date. Where am I going to live? So one option is you can stay in some short-term temporary accommodation like Airbnb or some hotels or some short-term accommodation while you're finding a long-term or a permanent accommodation. On many occasions, if you are, the university also has university housing on campus, and this is the universities give preference to students who are coming for the first time in Australia. So if you can get there, then that is the best thing to do. Next is to look at your budget or your living expenses, how much they are going to be. You can also start to get to know a bit about your city, where you will be coming. If you have any friends already, then that is well and good. But if not, then I think you should be able to start doing some research online. Join local Facebook groups and check the local Facebook marketplace as well if you want to buy something once you have landed here. So that is a big brief of moving in here after your PhD, for starting your PhD. And then the last bit is to begin your PhD journey. So this is where all the excitement begins. So you have kind of crossed all the hurdles in terms of getting the admission, landing in Australia, and now you are about to start your PhD journey. So when you reach the university, you probably meet your supervisor. They show you around the campus, or they introduce you to some of their other PhD scholars, and then they show you around the campus and so on. Or there is a formal orientation program for all PhD students and so on. You can visit the library, join student guild. So there are a lot of things that you can do in the first month that you arrive in Australia for starting your PhD. So now what I want to do, I want to ask you whether if there is any questions so far on what I have covered in the session. If there are any questions, please ask them now. And after that, I want to walk you through one university and their PhD admission process. Okay, if there are no questions, I will share this screen. I have selected University of Melbourne as to show you through their admission process, and this is their website, Graduate Research. So here you can see domestic applications, international applications, international joint PhD degree. So there are 3 options, and you can check this in your own. When you can also check it later on after the video. So let us assume that you are an international student. I will click on this. And we will see the entry requirements, the application process, offers and enrollments, fees and payments, and so on. And like I said earlier, I mentioned to you that when you have to find a supervisor, there is a supervisor registry. So this is an example of a supervisory registry. Need help finding a research supervisor? To apply for a graduate research course, you will first need to find a supervisor. If you haven't found one or need some help, you can search for the supervisor on our Find an Expert website. So you can check this here. I'm not going to show that now. It is fairly straightforward. But let's look at the entry requirements. Yeah. So entry requirements in Uni Melbourne is minimum eligibility. You are considered an international student based on your citizenship, even if you are studying in Australia. So this is very important to understand that the assessment of whether you are international or domestic depends upon your citizenship. So even if you are in Australia for now, maybe you are just finished a master's degree, but you are still considered as an international student. To be eligible to apply for graduate research courses, you normally required to have completed at least 4 years Australian bachelor's course or overseas equivalent. Yeah, so if you have done a 4-year degree in your own home country, that is also fine, and achieved an overall average of greater than 75% in final year of the course, which means overall the complete score has to be 75% or above. And you can imagine, because this is one of the topmost universities in the world, and that is an average standard across. So anywhere, most universities would require 70% or above. There is another requirement. You are also required to have completed a research project or a component that accounts for at least 25% of your 4th year work. Yeah, 4th year undergraduate, bachelor's degree or master's. So you have to have a research component. And what does the research component mean? So a research component means you are a research component means that you have to you should have done some research in your honors degree or in your master's degree, which is wherein you have actually completed a research project and also published something from that. So if you have published, in the sense, it could be a thesis that you have submitted as part of your assessment. Next is the visa requirement. I already explained to you in the session earlier, before. Now, here we have course-specific requirements. So requirements vary by course. Usually, to apply a graduate research course, you first need to determine your research topic and find a supervisor. Some graduate schools advertise available projects. Okay, so this is also important. What you can also do is you can look for some projects that are already advertised on the university website, that these are the projects that we are looking for PhD students to work on. And sometimes such projects are funded and there is a scholarship that is associated with that with that project. So that is also a good idea. On this website, there is also find a course option where you can see if there are any specific requirements for the course that you are interested in doing. So remember when I told you earlier on that there are university requirements as first thing, and then there are program specific requirements as the second thing. So as a eligibility criteria, at a university level you will qualify, but then the department or a specific course program would need to have some special requirements. So you also have to check those. So for that, you can use the find the course option. Okay, so there is a question here from Fiza Kamran. Does an industry consultation report in master's degree count as a research project? Okay, so I think this is a very interesting question. So in the industry consultation report, what was actually done? I think that is what the university or the assessment panel would see. For example, in the consultation report, if you have gone and spoken to different industries or different companies and gathered their feedback, analyzed their feedback, and come up with that consultation report, then I think that would qualify, be considered as a research research experience that you have achieved. And also another thing is that other than the research report, if you look here, this is also a component. So the amount of work that you have done has to be 25% of your fourth year program. So if depending upon how many credits that program was, that industry report was, if it is within that number, then I think you should have a very good chance um, to show that you have capability and you have done research, you have research experience. Writing a research proposal, I already covered this in the webinar yesterday. Some graduate schools require a research proposal to be part of the application. I think almost every university would require a research proposal, and it doesn't have to be very comprehensive at this stage. Like I mentioned yesterday in the yesterday's session, that a 2-page research proposal is 2 or 3 pages is sufficient for the admission purpose. And once you have got the admission, then you can always improve and build upon the research proposal further. To develop a research proposal, you need to be familiar with the current research in your area. Your proposal also needs to state your research question, your area of interest, and how you will undertake your research. So in yesterday's session, I mentioned about the importance of methodology. So you have to identify your research question, and you also have to identify how you are going to answer that research question. So both the things are equally important, and it shows that you have given a thorough, deep thought on how you are going to conduct this research. So it is not just randomly you are thinking. You have the research proposal should convey your research that you have done on that stage. Next is English language requirements. I already mentioned that you can use TOEFL, IELTS, Pearson Test of English or PTE, Cambridge English or CAE, or so these are the 4, I guess, most common tests that you can do to prove your English capability. And you also need to satisfy the requirements in one sitting within 24 months. So the results of these tests are, I guess, only valid for 2 years. So if you have completed these tests, but you are applying after 2 years, then those results will not be eligible. So you would have to appear for that exam once again. Okay, applications. Let's see what is here. Okay, so in here, in their application process, there are 7 stages. So step 1 is to choose your course. Step 2, check eligibility and fees, prepare your documentation, apply, be assessed and wait for offers, search for scholarship, and plan for accommodation. So this is more or less similar to what I covered in the session today. So choose your course. It could be Doctor of Philosophy, Masters of Philosophy, Masters by Research. So you can see the differences about these different programs. Like in case of doctorate by research, they are offering a coursework component in parallel with your research. So this is different compared to a standard typical PhD that everyone knows. Another thing that you can also consider is if you are from a management discipline. So if you have done MBA, for example, then you have two choices. Either you do a PhD or you can pursue a DBA, which is a doctorate in business administration. So DBA, for example, in the university where I work, they have 1 year of coursework and 2 years of research. So it is more suitable for professionals who are working in the industry and want to take their research, want to pursue a doctorate program. And on many occasions, when I have had candidates come and pursue a DBA, I've suggested them that they can choose a topic that is related to their related to their work. For example, if they are finding something challenging at work, or just at the business where they are working is struggling with something, that could be a good topic for their research, because they can not, it will be like killing one bird sorry killing two birds with one stone, because you will be working on your DBA, and the project that you have selected is related to the work that you are doing. So you don't have to specifically work on something different just for doing your DBA. You can work on a topic that is related to the place where you are working. Hi Rakesh, thank you very much for your sweet and kind comment. If you have any questions, please do ask, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. Okay, so step 2 is check eligibility and fees. Prepare your documentation was the third step, and I think, let me see what do they mention here. At a minimum, you need to provide academic transcripts and a CV with your application. If you are currently studying, you also need to provide a transcript of the final results and evidence of completion as soon as they are available. Depending upon the course, you may be required to provide a research proposal or folio of creative works, GRE or GMAT for your writing sample. If you don't have verified digital copies of academic documents or current for prior or current studies and wish to obtain during your application, you can select digital via. Okay, so this is a service which will do this assessment of your qualification. Academic transcripts, I guess we already covered that. Referees, I mentioned that you would need to provide name and contact of, like in this university, they want 2 referees. Sometimes other universities may ask 2 or 3. If it is less than 5 years since you completed your last course, they should be your academic referees. If it is more than 5 years since you completed your last course, then they could be your professional referees. So depending upon your situation, you would have to find an appropriate referee to give you a reference. Next is publications. If you want to include in your application details of the publications in which you are the author or co-author, please follow the following formatting convention. So if you have published a journal article, you have to write it in this format: book, chapter, book, refereed conference papers. So include that, and I think it is you can either include that in your CV, or when you are submitting this application online, they may have section where you can add that. Find a supervisor. I already showed you a link where you can find supervisor. Application process. If you are current student at Melbourne, apply through this. If you are a new student, you can apply online, but you have to go to a different link. If you need help with, you can find an overseas representative to help you with the lodge of an application. So this could be some form of an agent who provides you the service for preparing and submitting your application. So you can also try that. You can track your application by logging back into student account. So the account that you have created here, that will show the status of your application. Then what do you have? Don't have results yet. You can still apply if you haven't got your final results. So if you are in, say, final year of your honors degree, or final year master's, or last semester of your master's degree, you can still apply. And once you have your final result, then you can submit them the additional and the final transcript. Be assessed and wait for offers. Like I mentioned, it does take time for assessing the application and getting the response. Next is search for scholarships. If you are eligible, you will automatically be considered for a graduate research scholarship. So this is what I was talking earlier, that if you have when you're submitting the application for admission, there is also an option to submit a scholarship application. So this is what this one says here. There are different types of scholarship applications, scholarships like Endeavor scholarships, traveling scholarships, and other grants. So do check that on the research funding page. And last is plan for your accommodation. Once you get the application, once you get the admission, and you also secure your scholarship and you're ready to come, you will then be able to also look for on-campus accommodation. So those are basically the two things. And most universities in Australia will have more or less a similar process or similar format of applying when you want to apply for admission for PhD. Okay, so that is what I wanted to cover in today's session. If you have any questions, please do ask. And also take time to follow me on all the social channels that I am on. So take a screenshot of this maybe, and later after the session, please follow me on these, because I do share other relevant content on these platforms. Okay. Tomorrow's session is going to be how to apply postdoc position in Australia. So if you are interested, or if someone you know is interested in applying for a postdoc position in Australia, I think this would be a very insightful and useful session for them, and for you as well, if you're planning to do a postdoc. So that is all from me. If you are watching this video later, and if you have any questions, please leave a comment, and I will try to answer it as soon as I can. And also, if you have any suggestions of any other topics that you want me to cover in this webinar series, please let me know, and I will try to schedule that in as well. All right, that's it for today. Thank you very much, and have a great weekend. Bye.